Good morning. Welcome to the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for February 2nd, 2015. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we want to thank you for this day. We pray, Lord, that you'd help us to make wise decisions for our citizens today. Lord, we pray for the Pathway Center and the people that are there, that you keep them safe and warm, dear Lord. And we thank you for those people who work for that. Father, we want to pray for those up north that were for warmer weather in the Northeast, dear God. And Father, we also want to remember and pray that you'd watch over our military and their families, as well as our local law enforcement, those people who keep us safe while we're here. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kirkpatrick has been detained. He will be here momentarily. So we'll go ahead and begin with the call to public hearing. I'll open that hearing now. It's a request for a public hearing on proposed county smoking ordinance. Recognize the county manager, Ira Dove.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is a proposed ordinance regarding smoking on the prohibiting smoking and the use of tobacco products in county buildings and on county grounds as defined in the ordinance. We have received support from the Haywood County Health and Human Services Agency. I received a statement in support of this ordinance from Paul Turner, their chairperson. In addition, I've also received verbal support from the clerk of court and the resident superior, June Ray, and the resident superior court judge, Letts, over this particular matter. We have put this out for public comment. Would ask that the public hearing be on February 16th, 2015 at 5:30.
Okay. All right. There will be ample time at the next, or at that meeting on February 16th for anyone to voice their opinion or comments regarding this matter. It's also been posted online. So the details of the proposed ordinance are available for review there. So we'll call for the public hearing on February 16, 2015 at 5:30 p.m. In this room. So any other comments? Okay, then hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll move to the regular agenda. The next item is the public comment session. I've not received any written requests to address the board. Is there anyone present who would care to comment? Okay, hearing none, we will move to constituent concerns. Bill?
I have none.
Kevin?
None.
Okay. There are no administrative or agency reports this morning. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the January 20th, 2015 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those? Okay, we'll move to the second item. We have two budget amendments. Julie Davis, our finance director. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. I have a rather lengthy budget amendment to start with, and it does require a little explanation. I'm going to try to go through it quickly, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. The current year budget, when we put it together last year, there were some items, especially capital expenses, that we had to remove from the budget because we just didn't have the revenues. And the intention was that if revenues started to come back in after January, or if we had a sense of where we would end up, we could put some expenses back into the budget. And over the past couple of years, actually, but especially this year, during your work sessions, you've let us know what some of your priorities are. And there is a list behind the budget amendment that has some of the priorities that you had mentioned in your work session. Plus, there are some other items that we had recognized last year that needed to be put into the budget. And what we have found now, there are two reasons we're able to bring this budget amendment to you this morning. One of them is that we have an adjustment to the school appropriation based on the formula. Now, this one's a little bit different than normal. We change the school formula based on their average daily membership at the 10-day. It's a certain time in August. Last year, you might remember, we had to increase the amount we gave them by about $37,000. This year, the average daily membership, the ADM numbers for the budget were a little bit high. When we got the actual numbers, it was lower. It was only 7,200 versus about 7,256. So it's a reduction, according to the formula, of $265,000 or thereabouts. We have learned since then that there are some charter school students that the schools are having to pay for, and there's about 24 of them this year. So depending on how you approve this budget amendment, we can reduce the school appropriation by the full $265, or we can give them credit for those charter school students, which only reduces it down $217,655, and that's what I put into this budget amendment. So if you approve the budget amendment, it is reducing it a lesser amount than it would have normally.
Okay. And the charter school students are, in fact, public school students as defined in North Carolina law, so
They are.
it really wouldn't be fair to have the school system have to pay for them without, when they're, the regular students are augmented by county appropriations.
Exactly. It does
it's just-
seem fair.
I think we have to look
But
at
it's
it
up to you.
not as if they're charter school, but they're part of the school system or just in a different building. Look at it that way.
And we had
Bill.
reduced the formula, we had reduced according strictly to the formula, so we had reduced it to 65, but we can certainly increase what we're giving them for
Plus,
the
the school
difference.
system has no choice in this.
They have no choice.
No,
That's
true.
the big, the
And
money's
the-
going to be taken out.
And the funding is on basically it's a per pupil, and those 24 are in fact pupils in a public school system. So I think we need to fund them the same as we fund everybody else.
And I've put that in here if that's what you
Okay.
desire to do, and I think we're going to be,
So that would reflect the 217,655.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Now, that helps us to increase contingency somewhat. We actually had $340,000 worth of expenses, capital that we are trying to put in here, plus some additional cleanup. There was something in the sheriff's department, the disability insurance, that got left out of the budget. We're increasing $14,500. And there's some software upgrades at the wellness clinic for $3,000 that we're putting in here, using some of this funding. There's also another revenue stream, the payment in lieu of tax for federal property in the county was not budgeted last year because we were told that money was not going to be coming into the county. We have just received word that that money will be coming in. We don't have an exact amount, but we do know it'll be a little bit more than last year's, and last year was about $306,000. So I've budgeted $310,000. I didn't want to go too high to help cover some of these expenditures. So the total net effect on the budget is to increase both revenues and expenses, $312,500. The extra $2,500 over the $310 is some revenues that are going to help cover one of the sheriff's department's program. He's going to be charging some storage fees for some of the vehicles that they seize and that he has to pay rent for. But that's what this budget amendment does. I know that's quite a lot.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments?
No.
The additional revenue was welcomed, and
It was.
we were able to accomplish some things that needed to accomplish with no adverse effect on the budget.
Exactly.
Bill, do you have any comments? Kevin? No. Okay. Okay. All right, we'll move to the second budget amendment. Julie?
The second budget amendment is somewhat related to the first one. You'll notice we're hitting contingency for a small amount. The total increase in the public safety EMS line item is $168,691, and that's to cover some equipment that, again, was left out of the budget and that our EMS director has said he needs it desperately in this fiscal year. And because we had an opportunity to increase contingency a little bit, and he actually is showing in his budget that there are some revenues from the ambulance fees that are collected that are coming in a little bit over budget. So we hit contingency for $68,691 and are increasing the revenues $100,000 to cover this set of equipment, and that also is in your packet behind the budget amendment. If you'd like me to go over that, I'd be glad to.
All of these items are very obviously for used in patient transport.
Patient transport, basically, yes.
Stretchers, splint kits, traction splint kits, scoop stretchers, jump bags, et cetera. So any questions there? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Julie. And any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, would entertain a motion that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
So, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, we'll move to new business. The first item is we have our tax collector, Mike Matthews, requesting approval for an advertising date for the 2014 delinquent real estate taxes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. It's a little bit more than advertising. I was going to go over the report with you of where we're at so far.
Okay, good.
As you all know, I started back in December, took office then, and since that time, things have gone pretty smoothly. We've had some issues with staffing and that sort of thing, but we have finally caught up now. We've got everybody in place that we need. But so far this year, we are about 0.3 down from last year. It's roughly about $120,000. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, up until last week, we were so short-staffed. The only thing that we could focus on was the actual collections. We couldn't really, our main focus was just taking care of the customers when they came in, or the taxpayers when they came in. So that was our big focus. We do have a plan in place now that we are fully staffed. We have our counter operating, and then we have, people that can focus just on the delinquents. So that's what we're working towards. We've also signed back up with Van Winkle, and then we've got our paralegal back in place as well. So going forward, we do have a pretty solid plan, and I'm confident that we're not going to have any issues catching back up to where we were with that. And then with David's help, also through February at least, that's our focus, is to start working really hard on the delinquent accounts and doing forced collections. Let's see. And also, out of those numbers, our total levy is up from 35.98 in 2013 to 36.18 in 2014. That being said, with that, our pot's a little bit larger, even though it's a little bit down. We're working out of a larger pot this year. It's about 33,000 higher. I'm sorry, that's not right. It's about 200,000 higher for the total levy. But then money-wise that we've taken in more money, even though the percentage is a little bit lower. We've taken in about $33,000 more. And as far as our delinquents go, we're about $120,000 down on that as well. But again, that goes back to, I think, with our staffing issue. But now, again, we're moving forward with that. And over the past couple weeks, or past 2 weeks, we've been pretty successful. We've got several 5-plus-year-old bankruptcy accounts that have been paid that have come through, and they're really very large accounts. So as of right now, the plan is to continue with the same model that has been, just with the staff in place to do so. And as far as our tax and tag, since we've moved that over, or since that's been moved from the tax office down to the tax and tag, we are actually up about $363,000 on that, almost $400,000. It's from, we're at $1,328,000, so doing well there.
Yeah, that tax and tag works pretty well, doesn't it?
Yes.
On the delinquent taxes, Mike, I know we had previously used paralegal, I believe, to assist in that endeavor. What's your plans, if any?
She is back.
She's back?
Yes, as of today, I heard. So, and then we've got some other avenues we're looking into as well, somebody to help her with. So I think we've got a pretty good plan in place. I'm very confident that we'll get to moving forward. Right now, we've been kind of, we're working with 2 people through the busiest time of the year, so.
Right. Okay, well, good. Any Any questions, Bill, or comments?
It sounds good.
Kirk?
Mike, you're fully staffed now?
We are, as of Friday, we are fully staffed. We had the last hire on Friday start. So, and then the fourth started, that was our fifth, and the fourth started the Monday, or the Wednesday before.
Good.
It sounds like that, considering the transition and, the staffing issues and all like that, in spite of all that, we've done pretty well.
I
with
think so.
that.
I mean, David's been a huge help. There would just be fumbling through everything had it not been for him. So he has been a tremendous help with this. And love to have him around as long as he's willing.
Appreciate your hard work, appreciate David's hard work, and, what staff you had, and,
The staff's been great so far.
sounds
And
like that we're the foundation's there now, and we're ready to go.
I believe so. I believe so.
And the very positive attitude is evident.
That's good. That's really impressive.
Good.
Sounds good. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's so difficult to hear in here. Did you mention the advertising date of March 18th?
Yeah, I was getting ready to. I was waiting to see if you had
Okay,
any more
all right,
questions on
okay,
that.
good.
In accordance with the General Statute 105-369, wanted to request the advertising for the 2014 delinquent taxes to be on March 18th.
Okay. Any objection to that?
No objection.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay. Then at this point,
Thank you.
there's no further comments. We would entertain a motion to approve the advertising date of March 18th, 2015 for the 2014 delinquent real estate taxes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Okay, next up, we have the Board of Equalization and Review Resolution for the chairman and vice chairman of that board. David?
Good morning, Commissioners. Hope everybody's doing pretty well. Apparently, this Super Bowl got us a little bit dragging today. I've asked, over and over about moving this an hour back, but to no avail yet. As I brought forward to you requesting the Board of Equalization and Review, said that we'd use the same members as we did in the past. This resolution reflects those same members there. Also reflects that Evelyn Cooper remain as chairman and Cliff Stovall remain as the vice chairman of the board. Also in there, you will notice that what is different from previous resolutions, we talked to the Department of Revenue, and we had ended their term on December 31st. Per the Department of Revenue, the term can run from the date approved from February 2nd, 2015 to February 2nd, 2016. For those of you who have served in the past, we have that, sometimes we have that year end where we have to get in there on the 31st, and then we've even actually had to go over a time or two because we had appeals that were dated December 31st. So we talked to the Department of Revenue, and they said that this was perfectly fine to run the term from year to year like this. So that's what you'll see, that's new in there from the previous resolution. And one thing that we will do coming forward after reval, they said that if you want to, and there's not a change in control of the board, then you can appoint up to 2-year terms for the board, or because of doing the way that we stagger the commissioners' elections, those are every 2 years, then we can make the resolution for 2 years at a time at that point. So I would recommend that at that time when it comes time. Okay. So, and also there, I'd like to point out too that the board will begin hearing appeals on April 13th at 1 o'clock. And the assessor will take applications from April 6, 2015 through April 17th at 2015 at 5 o'clock. We'll take applications from anybody who wants to file an appeal on the valuation. And remember, these valuations are what the tax values were at 2011. And so they can come in and appeal those property values, but you have to go back and look at the way things were in 2011, not how things are in 2015. Okay? That's always a struggle and stress that people have a hard time understanding. So,
David, I just want to reiterate, so from April 6th until April 17th, people can appeal their values. That's the time to
correct.
To make an application to appeal.
Correct, yeah. And then after April 17th, you cannot appeal your 2015 taxes no longer.
Right.
Okay, this is the appeal period, and it ends on April 17th. That's correct, sir.
And it's been my experience serving on the Board of E&R and being a commissioner for a while, that if folks who have questions will go in and informally discuss it with the appraisers, the vast majority of the issues are resolved, and there's never any need for a formal appeal. So, you know, I would encourage people to take advantage of that portion of it.
Yeah, and they're doing that as we speak to the people right now can file, you know, for an informal review of their properties or come in and discuss with the appraisers, Judy Ballard or myself. We're all available if anybody has any issues or discussions they need to make with us.
Yeah. It's called the informal process, and it is very informal. Just bring it in and talk, and the appraiser will do their best to reach an equitable solution. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the 2015 Board of Equalization and Review, which reflects the appointment of Evelyn Cooper as chairman and Raymond Cliff Stovall as vice chairman.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
I've got just a one note I want to let the public know and share with the public. The 2015 flyovers that we do for our ortho maps are going to begin this month. So the planes, you know, they fly a little bit lower than some planes. I don't want anybody to be alarmed. But, you know, I don't know when they'll begin exactly. You know, they were supposed to begin this week, but I don't think the weather will be cooperating and fly through March. But, you know, depending on weather and, you know, the relationship of the plane and the sun, we'll take in that account. So, but they will be starting that this month.
What kind of aircraft is it, do you know?
It's a small Cessna
engine.
kind of plane, has a lot of different cameras on it, and they fly, like I said, they fly a little bit lower, and it's sometimes, you know, they're kind of alarming to see a plane, you know, fly that low. And in the patterns they go, you know, there's a strict pattern that they follow, going down, coming back, going across, making sure they get all the sections of the properties that they can.
Okay.
But that'll be starting soon.
David, when would you anticipate that work being done? In other words, when will they be on our GIS layer?
We hope that we'll have the orthos in-house maybe by late fall. We'll QC, we'll QC everything at that time. You know, Stephanie and her crew, a little bit light of an office, they have only 3 employees down there in land records. We'll pull Carl DeKing up from GIS as well. And review those, and then hopefully they'll be online by this time next year, January, February. They'll be be online. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I should have mentioned it in constituent concerns. It's been a continuing problem with being able to hear well in this room. It has to do with I think just the architecture of a room this open. And it's difficult to hear. It's difficult for us to hear, and I know it's difficult to hear out in the audience. I think it comes across pretty well on television, but it's very difficult here. So the county manager's taken some steps. We have some folks come in and see if we can't improve the overall quality of the audio in here so that we can have better meetings and you can hear what's going on. So we'll be doing that in the next, over the coming weeks. Okay, third item of new business is an update on the personnel aspects of the privatization of the solid waste program and approval for wellness clinic benefits. We have Kathy McClure. Kathy?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I have 2 items to bring to you this morning. The first one is just to update you on where we are in our reduction in force process for our solid waste employees. As you know, there's 10 employees that are going to be affected by this. We delivered the letters, notices to the employees on Wednesday of last week, January the 28th. I have scheduled individual appointments with these employees starting this Thursday and Friday, finishing up on Monday. And we're going to meet with these folks individually to discuss. Some of them are eligible for retirement, so we wanted to meet with them individually, go over the severance agreement, and to let them explore their options. I have projected some payouts for severance pay, vacation pay, and have sent those to Julie and to Ira to review. I've also completed the severance agreement, and I sent that to Chip and to Julie. Ira has already reviewed that, so hopefully I'll have those ready this week, and we can sit down when we start with the meeting with the employees on Thursday. The second thing that came up when Ira and I initially met with the employees, they had the request to bring to you to if the possibility would be there for them to be able to utilize the wellness clinic. So I respectfully submit to this board for the approval and consideration and approval that these employees be allowed to continue to utilize the Haywood County Employees Wellness Clinic for a period of 90 days after the reduction in force. That time period would begin on April the 1st, 2015, and would end on June 30th, 2015. This way, this will allow the employees some time to either enroll in the insurance benefits that CWS is providing, or would allow them to explore other options.
Okay. Comments, questions? So each of the employees that so desires has a job with CWS?
Yes, that's correct. And he does provide benefits. I'm not sure what the package is. I believe that they are expected to pay half of the premium. And so I've had a couple of them, and we'll talk more about that when we meet with them individually, but a couple of them have even considered going out on the exchange to see what might be more affordable for them.
Well, personally, I think allowing them to utilize the wellness clinic is a good transition opportunity and is a very fair thing to do, in my view. So
I think, one of the concerns I've had, obviously, is the employees. And, it's a tough situation when you've been used to a particular situation or employment, along with, a certain level of health insurance and benefits, to all of a sudden, get it pulled out from under you. And now, saying that, it's not really, they still have employment, and we had a conversation with Scott, but I don't know what his last name is. The guy from CWS.
Scott Welch.
Scott Welch,
Welch,
yes.
Welch, yeah,
Yes,
Mr.
Scott
Welch.
Welch.
After the meeting 2 weeks ago, and he expressed, a lot of concerns about the employees and about wanting to have a smooth transition, and even potentially some, potential pay raises for the employees. And, so they do have a job, they do have an opportunity.
Right.
And the wellness clinic, giving them that opportunity is a little bit of an effort from us to try to smooth this transition for them. So, I'm 100% behind that.
Okay. All righty.
Any other comments? I would just mention that we're down now to one employee in solid waste. In Haywood County, I think at our peak, we were, Vicki, you had an article of 82, I believe. 82 people.
Yes, sir.
Were employed.
That's
so we're down
correct.
to one. And that's the monitoring technician at the Francis Farm landfill. And that person will be there indefinitely, I'm sure. It's a multi-year solution there. Okay, if there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the reduction in force candidates as articulated, and to use the wellness clinic until June 30th as part of that transition process.
So moved.
Second.
Good. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That will certainly make this transition a lot smoother for the employees. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, next is item 4, which is requesting approval of a roof replacement contract at the Pigeon Community Center. Dale Burris is with us. Dale, if you would give us a little background. I know we've been talking about this for almost probably 2 years now to get to this point. So,
yeah, I think we started out about a little over 2 years ago, working with the Pigeon Community Center to, they were going to use the funding that the county had supplied for them to be able to replace the roof. I think during that time, and I'm trying to recall the best I can from that long ago, but don't seem that long, but from that time, they were not able to secure, within an architect and be able to get the roof replaced or repaired even at that point. So what we started on this year was actually, we got the roof designed, we put the roof out to bid the first time, which we were trying to meet the energy standards. As with all new roofs, we want to try to meet those energy standards if at all possible. It, of course, drives the cost. Anytime you meet energy standards, it's going to drive the cost. So the project was put out to bid. We did have 2 contractors that bid on the project, and it was about 53% over budget of what we originally had budgeted. So we went back and redesigned it under the way the energy standards are written. It's not required for a roof replacement to meet the energy standards on a facility that 95% of it does not meet those energy standards in the first place. So we went back, we received 2 proposals for the project, and Bonnet's Roofing of the Carolinas, Tennessee was actually the lowest proposal we received on that. Just a little bit more background on that. When we originally started, or when I originally looked at this roof, it was not in near the shape that it is now. It had some areas that needed to be repaired, but just recently, as of last week, there was some extensive repairs, lack of better terms, a Band-Aid put on some areas from the Facilities and Maintenance Department to seal up some areas of the roof to be able to get by until, this contract could be awarded if the commissioners so well desire to do so. So we're trying our best to actually keep them dry, but there is certain areas, and this building being during the time frame that it was constructed has a tectum type ceiling. Mr. Swanger, Mr. Upton, you're very well aware of the tectum type ceiling. It's basically your roof insulation and your ceiling on the inside as well. So once it gets damaged, it basically looks like shredded wheat. It expands, the material does. So the only way to actually truly fix that is take the roof off, remove that material, and then put new material back in. We can still get the tectum material. Some contractors have it left over from other projects, and others still you can still order it. So that's how this is laid out. This will be a full roof replacement based on the project bid with the alternate one, which would take care of the gutters and downspouts as well to get the water off the roof.
Okay. So it'll be a complete, full replacement.
That it would be a complete roof replacement, tear-off and replacement.
Okay. So I know in the past, and I don't know that this is true now, but I know in the past that there had been some interest expressed in the Pigeon Community Association owning that building if they could get it in a dry condition. So I don't know if that's still their desire or not, but that may be something we need to address at some point if they make that request. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? If not, then would entertain a motion to approve the roof replacement contract with, how do you pronounce it? Bonnet's Company of Carolina, Tennessee, Inc., in the amount of $72,105, which includes alternate one for the center. So would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. And we have Julie with a budget amendment to cover the increased cost estimates for this project.
This budget amendment is also related to the first budget amendment. They're all related this morning in that this is an expense that you had discussed in your work session as one of the priorities that you wanted to see accomplished, and its effect on the general fund. There are multiple things I'm doing in this budget amendment to minimize the effect on the general fund. There are some projects in our capital project fund that I'm closing out. There's a little bit of leftover money. The total of all the leftover money and all of the projects, and there's 3 projects we're closing out, is $11,621. So I'm reducing that first and transferring it into this project. We're actually increasing the budget for this project $57,500. But the net effect on the capital project fund is $46,616 because of those closeouts. And that $46,000 is what we're transferring from the general fund into this capital project fund in order to complete this project.
Okay.
And this will include also not just the roof, but there's some underground storage tank I almost forgot to mention that's going to have to be removed.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments?
Just a comment, I'd like to personally thank Bill Upton for all the work he's done in the community to push this along. And I'm not the Bill Upton, it's the other Bill Upton that worked with the churches, I believe, and brought money in. So
Yeah,
Again, thank you. to
yeah, they
Bill.
did. They brought a lot. I'm glad we're getting that storage tank out of there. That's just going to be a problem down the road if we
It
don't.
will be. Best to get rid of it now.
Does it have any fuel in it, Dale? Do we know?
We did a simple sludge test on it with Neo Corporation. There is basically some sludge in the bottom, probably about 6 inches. So there's not any fuel oil to be used in the tank right now. And that was one of the items that they looked at from the Pigeon Community Center standpoint, was to be able to fill a 10,000-gallon storage tank. It was going to be very expensive for them, so it was easier for them to use smaller, like 250-gallon tanks to run their boiler instead of leaving this one out there and look at the issue of it being there for, I'm going to say at least 50 years.
Yeah.
It's been in the ground. I'm not sure how long it's been there. I'd have to look at the UST permit, but there's very little sludge, so it's just a matter of removing that sludge and then getting the tank out, backfilling the area, and seeding and strawing the area.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? If not, would entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment as described by Julie.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, next we have a resolution in opposition to the Pisgah National Forest Land Management Plan Revision, Attachment 8, Ira Dove.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We were, or good morning again, I should say. We were discussing this topic back in May of this year. The U.S. Forest Service has put out a proposal for the land management plan regarding the Pisgah National Forest and the Nantahala National Forest. There have been a couple of sessions where they have gone through publicly, and a couple of public comment sessions since that time when we had a chance to discuss in May. The United States Forest Service proposes to revise its land management plan and reduce the total number of management areas from 21 to 16, rather than to continue to manage the lands for sustainability and turn these into wilderness, which would reduce the amount of road maintenance, reduce the amount of trail maintenance, and place them in a different category. Our county would be impacted by that plan in the Pisgah National Forest, and I'm putting forward this resolution. And it reads, whereas the United States Forest Service proposes to revise its land management plan and reduce the total number of management areas from 21 to 16, rather than manage the lands for sustainability. And whereas the proposed revisions would include the Pisgah National Forest and affect areas of Haywood County, and whereas the Haywood County is concerned that less forest management will negatively impact future search and rescue efforts and increase their frequency, difficulty, and cost, and by limiting the necessary maintenance to roadways and trails and reducing necessary signage. And whereas the county is concerned that less forest management will negatively impact recreational uses, therefore impacting tourism and the local economy. And whereas the county believes that sufficient forest management practices are critical to maintaining a healthy forest ecosystem for native wildlife, which in turn sustains the economic value to the areas as a recreation site, now therefore be it resolved that the Haywood County Board of Commissioners do hereby stand in opposition to any additional wilderness designated areas where land management practices are reduced within Haywood County. And note that is additional wilderness areas. You're not asking that the plan reduce what is already designated wilderness in our areas.
Okay, thank you. As Ira noted, there have been 2 federal comment periods already. There will be another 2 comment.
Yes, they'll be after they make the plan, which is where they are now. We're in between comment periods, and they have designated them in one part, and then they'll be formulating the plans in the next. There's another comment session then, and to my knowledge, one after that.
Right. So this resolution, of course, is not binding on anyone. It's just putting in writing the opinion, basically, of this board if it's approved. We discussed this looking at the minutes from May 5th, 2014, this was discussed during the constituent concerns, and many of us at that time expressed some concerns, which I think are adequately captured in the resolution. I have had no comments made to me objecting to our position. I have had comments made that supported our position as we articulated in May. Michael, have you had any comments?
I've had no comments, but, you know, I'm well aware of the discussions that we've had with this, and we, if I'm not mistaken, have we not, in those public comment sessions, we sent a response that we did not risk or did not want to change. We wanted to stay. Did we do that earlier?
The exact minutes were forwarded to, the minutes of your constituent concerns is what was forwarded on to the federal government, yes.
So this is not new today. This is,
No, it's not.
This
It's
is
just-
something
it's
that
just,
we've been following for, since May.
Yes.
It's memorializing what we've already said. I just want to see if there's any public comment or objections or controversy. Kevin, have you
Well,
heard?
I know I've had the public comments that I've received were pretty much along the lines of our resolution. I guess I would term the people I've heard from are conservationists that like what we have, and they would like to see us continue with the in the forest practices that we have in our national forest right now, and they were encouraging us to do just this. So I guess this is a response to their request, and which I agree with.
Okay. Kirk, do you have any?
I haven't heard anything.
I'm just wondering, from 21 to 16, so this sounds like a cost savings
That's what it is.
for the government. I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? We're
It
gonna
would be.
manage less area, which is really not a positive thing for our citizens.
I believe it is something that they are looking at, among other things, to cost save, yes.
And, you know, being such an asset to the county, to be able to use it for recreational purposes or so be it, whatever, the less amount of availability that you can get into it, then that just cuts back on what people like to, you know, to utilize the area for. So,
Yeah, and you can talk to Greg Shuping about those who do go into those areas
Right.
are far more likely to have to be rescued, and that's a direct cost to the taxpayers of Haywood County. And I think anyone who has followed the wildfires out in the western part of our country understand that forest management is a necessary tool. Getting fuel off of the forest floor and so forth is, if done in a best practice way and an environmentally responsible way, is something that I think is good. And in a wilderness area, that's often not the case. So.
I think also I know at one time when the National Forest, when we were managing them properly, in my opinion, we were able to, the funds that were received were given to the school system, I believe. Is that right? Or some of the funds were given back to the counties, and which were appropriated to the schools. And we don't get as much of that now as we used to. I believe I'm right on that.
Yeah, it's shrunk. That's a small amount now, I believe, we
Yeah.
get for the school system.
And if they continue with this, that's just going to decrease that part of the pie for the schools.
Okay.
So they intend on keeping all the property, they just don't want to manage it and take care of it?
They want
Is
it to
that
be
it?
wilderness area.
If we want it to be managed, are they going to look to us to, since we think it's for our benefit, to assist them in taking care of it? I mean, let's face it, if we're saying to them, we want you to keep doing this and we want you to keep spending money because it's for our benefit, are they going to turn to us and say, well, why don't you put some money in it to help us take care of it?
Yeah. If they say that, it would be contrary to their charter and to the legislation that created the national park system and the national forest system. So it would take a lot of legislation to do that probably. But do you care to comment, Chip?
Well, I agree. I think some of the discussion in the past has been to assist with the cost of fire and rescue and that sort of thing, which is not directly management. So I don't know whether they might come back to us on those issues or not. Ira probably has a better idea.
I mean, I agree with all of it, that it benefits us. I'm just, if it's their land,
Which they,
I mean, can they not do with it
which
what
they,
they
which
want
they stole
to?
fair and square from us.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like for them to manage it and take care of it. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. It's the pleasure of the board. We have two options. We can vote on this today. We can lay
I
it
don't mind agreeing with the resolution
Okay.
that they do it. I'd like for them to do it. I'm just
Oh, I
wondering
know.
what they're going to say in response.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why they're having a response, to see where people want to be with it. And, you know, if in fact that's their, you'll find out for sure about the cost. You know, if they say, well, if you want to keep it, then you need to divvy up. But otherwise, you know, for the initial benefits and where we've been and, you know, access to it, you know, if you close off areas and don't maintain roads and don't maintain trails, how's people going to enjoy it and use it? And, you know, I think we all want it, you know, we'd like to see it stay the same.
But, you know, if we don't have control burning at points in time, we will have a big problem down the road.
Well, appropriations for upkeep of the parkway, our national parks, national forests, have been on the decline for years, and to the point where, you know, locally, we've had to, through TDAs, try to spend money to get overlooks cleared to where tourists could look off and see something other than a tree. So, you know, there seems to be a movement by the federal government to spend as little as humanly possible on wilderness areas or forest areas, the parkway. So,
Well, I know I've heard that the Forest Service is the only government agency that basically funds itself, and it's through timber harvest. I know I've heard that somewhere. I probably can't, I'll probably Google it and find it, but I think that, you know, they're kind of, it's going to what Kirk said, if they don't manage their forest, they're not going to have an income from the timber sales to fund their agency. So they're kind of cutting themselves off if they don't do anything. So that was another.
as I said, we have two ways to proceed. One, we can go ahead and take action one way or the other on this today, or we could let it lay for a couple of weeks for public comment. I've had one person express to me that this is controversial. Personally, I've not seen that. I've seen no evidence of that based on comments to me, and that's the reason I was asking each commissioner if you've had anything. So it doesn't appear to be, at least in Haywood County, the controversy wouldn't reach a level of letting this lay for weeks for public comment. Is that pretty much what you're hearing?
The comments I got was that they would like for us to do a resolution.
Okay.
And I would move that we approve this.
Okay. All right, then we have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution in opposition to the Pisgah National Forest Land Management Plan revision. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. We'll move to the seventh item of new business. Johnny Glantz has the flu and is not with us today, so Ira is going to handle the fire service district issues. Ira?
Yes. Three fire services are going to be up for vote today. We actually put forward 4 at the public hearing, but due to the constituent concerns regarding Waterville district, we will be, as instructed, putting a survey forth. So with the other 3 districts, I'll take them one at a time. And the first is the Ivy Hill Fire Service District, that we are asking that that be approved as put forward in the map and put forward at the time of the public hearing. Any questions regarding the Ivy Hill Fire Service District?
And again, no public comment?
No public comment on Ivy Hill to my knowledge, and I did speak with Johnny Glantz, and he did not receive any public comment after that.
Okay. Has any board member received any comment on the Ivy Hill Fire District? Okay. Okay, then go ahead, Ira.
The next district would be the East Canton Fire Service District. We put as put forward on the maps and as discussed at the public hearing, there actually was positive public comment subsequent to that hearing, is what I've been advised by Johnny Clance. Some of the people want to have fire insurance and are happy that at the money they will save.
Okay. Has anyone received any comments on East Canton?
Other than we had a gentleman here, Asheville Highway, that spoke to us
Right.
in an earlier meeting about that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, then we'd entertain a motion to approve the resolutions for the establishment of the Ivy Hill Fire Service District and the East Canton Fire Service District. And I believe we didn't finish the extension of Fines Creek. Do you want to talk about that?
The expansion of the Fines Creek Fire Service District boundary, again, as put forth in the maps and the public hearing, and there has been no public comment on this one.
Okay. I got a little bit ahead of myself there, but the motion then would include the extension of the Fines Creek Fire Service District as well. So I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Okay, we'll continue with our county manager regarding the annual flood buyout leases for flood property. Ira?
Yes, annually, these leases have been brought before the commissioners, and I'm just going to briefly read the resolution. Whereas the county owns 118 parcels of land obtained in the aftermath of Hurricanes Francis and Ivan in September 2004, and whereas the Flood Recovery Act of 2005, adopted by the General Assembly, limits the use of the flood recovery properties to recreational use and other limited purposes, whereas the Haywood County Recreation and Parks Department has coordinated a program to lease these properties to the public on an annual basis for purposes allowed in the Recovery Act. And whereas the commissioners have historically approved the annual leases, though there is no legal requirement to do so, now therefore be it resolved that for purposes of efficiency, the Board of Commissioners does hereby transfer the authority to negotiate these annual leases to the Haywood County Manager following review and approval of the Recreation Advisory Board. Essentially, the Recreation Advisory Board has already read these leases this year, and they would recommend to you, and we would bring it before the commissioners.
Okay. I would recognize Commissioner Kirkpatrick at this point. He represents our board on the Recreation Committee. Kirk, do you have any thoughts about this?
These are just, they're regular approvals that come forward every year, and it's kind of something that's fairly tedious to bring to the board every single time to approve the buyout leases. I mean, basically what the Recreation Board is doing is trying to manage those properties with the least expense to the county as possible by leasing as many of them. And most of them are leased for, like you said, $1 a year. Some that they're actually, where they have agricultural gain or income, then they're charged more for that. But most of it works pretty well, and if it can run through the county manager, I'm sure that will help Claire and the board as well as us.
Yeah, because all of them don't come due at the same time. So, and a lot of people have, small family gardens on them, that sort of thing. So,
they're doing a good job of keeping those up without. Otherwise, the county had to send folks down there to mow every single one of those parcels, especially within the town of Clyde, which has restrictions on maintaining your property, and we get some letters every now and then when it's not maintained properly. So,
okay, is there any objection to this?
No objections. I just want to make a comment or a clarification. These properties, I mean, really the county, I mean, we can't dispose of these properties. That was the, when they come through the flood thing. And I know that I've had a lot of citizens look at the amount of parcels that the county owns and have expressed, you people need to be getting rid of some of this stuff. Well, we are. What we can get rid of is not using them, but these parcels are actually, we just manage them. That's all we do. And that's by federal statutes and the Flood Recovery Act. That's how we ended up with them, and that's what's happening here. And so, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can we not sell them with the restrictions? Chip, can we not sell these with the restrictions if a neighbor wanted to buy it? They couldn't build on it, but if they wanted to own it. And
I believe we could. I'll look into that and get you a firm answer.
because if I was a neighbor and I was leasing it, and I wanted to own it, I knew I couldn't put buildings on it, but if I could, I mean, if we could get it out of the county's hands back into the private
Main
sector.
thing is a restriction so that it does not impede waters in the future, flood waters in the
Right,
future.
they just can't build on it.
Ira's shaking his head. You are,
I don't believe, we'll
We
we'll
can't.
look into it again.
I've heard,
We'll look into it.
yeah, I was under the impression that you could not, but it's no
my
different than
impression.
property that's in the floodway. I mean, I own property that's in the floodway and can't do anything, very limited what I can do with
I
it.
was under the impression that when we agreed to accept them.
That's right.
That was the end of it, but you may be
the
right.
funds came from other sources, and I just
Let's
can't-
research that and find
Yeah,
out.
if we could,
We'll
you
look into
know, dump it or get rid of some of it, we need to, but I was under the impression we could.
Yeah, I don't think we can, but if we can, if there's some way we can now, more, let's do it. I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
I've been ready to do it for
Well, if you could-
10 years.
If it's legal, I don't know, I don't see a
It's been
problem.
a decade, things may have changed. We'll be happy to look into it.
Yeah, if you'll research that
It
with
would just
Chip.
seem to me that that would, if they're restricted, they're restricted. You have to pay attention to the restrictive covenants, but it'd be nothing more than a private parcel having restricted covenants,
Unless there was a law against it.
unless there was a law. But I just don't see how you cannot sell it. I mean, I just don't see how that would be American, that you can't sell something ever.
Well, the only situation would be that it was bought with federal flood monies, and then give back to the
Right.
county.
Well, let's just research it and find out where we stand.
Yes, we'll go ahead and do
Okay. So if you ever hear somebody appear before our board and say, well, the county owns 135 parcels of land.
I've
what do
heard
you-
that
Why don't you try to, well, 118 or 116 of them, whatever, 118 of them are these little tiny parcels that are flood property, so don't be misled by that rhetoric. Okay, the ninth item of new business is the announcement that we're going to have a work session on February 23rd, which is a Monday, from 1 to 4 p.m. in the training room at the Health and Human Services Agency. No, we didn't, but I will in a minute, sorry. Somebody kept bugging me about buying them or selling them or something, got me all messed up. So we're going to have that work session at that time. We'll move back to item 8, authorizing the county manager to approve the annual buyout leases.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Thanks, Kevin.
I'm not saying anything.
Good job, Kevin.
Okay. Any other business before we enter into closed session? If not, would entertain a motion to enter closed session for attorney-client privilege, General Statute 143-318.11A3.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
No.
No, go ahead. We have returned from closed session. Is there additional actions for the board?
None.
Since there's no additional business, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you.